What was the drug use like back then at that time period? Because I know the road schedule was crazy and all that.
Couldn't smoke dope. Okay, so you take that out of the equation. It's just like, so the other thing you can do is you can take pills, and you can drink booze.
Right.
If you're one of the top guys, I mean, most guys drink beer. Most guys don't drink liquor. So you can't be, bloated toad and drink. By this time, it takes 20 beers to get a buzz. So, it's like, well, I got to work every night, so I can't be a bloated toad with a big fat beer gut. So it's like, you take pills,
right,
and just kick them in with 4 or 5 beers, and I'd never taken a pharmaceutical drug in my life before I got into bodybuilding. I mean, until I got in the wrestling industry.
What was your, drug of choice, if you want to talk about it?
Well, I had to. I was in that Soma era.
Everybody, yeah.
Somas were very popular. Muscle relaxers. They just, they whack you. Sometimes one night you take 3 as your opening volley and it would do nothing. Other nights you take 3 and it'd be like, it was just weird. And we had all these different theories where carbohydrates kicked them in, and pizza right after it, and bang, we had all these theories of what made Somas work. And, we'd get the Mexican bootleg ones, and those were horrible, and so we get some script ones and 2 of those, and you take 12 of this, it's amazing that, your heart's a muscle. You're eating, 25 muscle relaxers a night.
Right.
Drinking 20 beers. You say you're not going to drink, but once you get all whacked, you drink. But then Xanax were another one. The 2 milligram Xanax were a popular amongst my running mates and myself. But when I first broke in, we had Placibills, the greenies, the 750s. We had Placibills. And one time, Kid brought phenobarbital on a European trip, like a big vat of them. It was just like a bunch of monkeys in a room. Like, what do phenobarbital do? They're barbiturate. I got caffeine in them. That can't be that bad. We can take 3? I'll take 3 before we wrestle.
Oh.
So it was. But it was such a. It was like you were like a family. It was like almost like a fraternity, like a frat. Even guys you didn't like you go out to a bar and the guys that you didn't particularly, and I'm not saying you didn't like them, because there wasn't anybody that, I never, all the time I've been in this business, there's never been a guy that I can say, boy, I really just don't like him, or I hate him, or,
right.
There's been a lot of guys I'm sure that have said that about me, but I never had that, like any malice towards anybody or anything like that. It's just like, you were kind of like, it was like family. You might not have been my favorite brother, but you were my, and so many times we'd be out and it'd be like, hey man, what's that asshole doing over there? I don't know, but those hockey guys from the other town are messing with him. It'd be like 9,
Right.
He might not have been our buddy, but you didn't mess with anybody in that locker room.
Speaking of families, in your mind, when do you think the clique was truly formed?
When we were doing those, the Raw was out of the Manhattan Center, and we were doing those face-to-faces, which
right.
were really a time-consuming, and it was like face-to-face, the Manhattan Center, which was a brutal place to shoot those TVs, like one shower, locker rooms about as big as a twin-size bed. Went from there to the Titan production place and sat in this room that was maybe the size of a hotel room. 25, 30 guys crashed, laying on this indoor-outdoor carpeting, eating this processed chicken breast and baked ziti, doing these face-to-faces all day long, and then, running like Bushkill, Poughkeepsie, doing
right.
this, like, just that
shit
whole,
towns.
yeah, just... and living in that jetport over in Elizabeth, New Jersey, hanging out at the strip joint there, Lookers.
Oh, I know, yeah.
Just that it was just such a, and you just had to have, you had to have some running mates. You just had to have some guys. And I was already tight with Sean when I got there, And I'd already known Scott, and when we first night after Albany, we got to the jetport, and Sean reached back and he bit something. He reached it back, and it was half a Placidil. He bit into it, and he gave me the other half. And I said, "What's that?" He said, "Just take it." And we went down, and Scott had some Valiums. He gave me one of those. I never take any pills. Drank a couple of beers. I'm like, these aren't kicking in. They're not doing anything. And they just looked at me, and it was basically like, all right, I got it. So then it was a couple more days, and after that, it was just with that grind. It was just like, you mentally were so, you were so stretched mentally because you had to be on so often, and just that, that you had to be able to shut you, and you couldn't. You'd get home at night and be, it was, you got 3-4 guys in a Super 8, sleeping, I mean, nobody's making any money.
Right.
TVs were $50 you got paid. Which, good luck spending $50 in the Northeast getting a car and a hotel and food. And you're getting lunch meat when you go to the TV taping at WWF. So it was really different times, and God, you had to be able to shut that off. And sometimes, man, the only way you could do it was to get a buzz. And it's just like Scott and I had a conversation months ago. We were talking about was there anybody that at that time on our roster that wasn't just getting whacked every night? And we laughed and said, not that we were hanging out with.
Huh.
It was just like, you go there and, it'd be like you'd walk in and here'd come Yoko with like a tray of like 50 shots of Jack, and then, and you'd have to, and the thing was, the guys would toss them over the shoulders, and night went on, so you had to do them, like hold it and the guy would go, and then you'd have to gargle it and then swallow it so nobody could throw the shots.
Right.
So, you do that and be like, oh God, then here come Taker with another tray. And it's just like, and it was that kind of every single night. It's amazing. A lot of guys died. It's amazing it wasn't 10 times.
Yeah, it's great.
And the thing is, it's just like people always blame Vince. It's just like, I never once got a memo saying I had to take pills.
Right.
I had to stay up all night and party and drink. I never got the memo. I don't think anybody else did. It's just that,
Part of the business?
Yeah, it was at that time. I just think that, especially that Minnesota crew. Oh, the business is done in the bar.
Right.
That whole Minnesota crew always, Rude always said that.
Henning, Rude.
Yeah. Business is done in the bar. That's where all the business gets done.